Welcome to Wrestling with Fitness, a monthly accountability podcast collaboration of the For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network and Shotgun Wrestling Radio. Here are your hosts, Shotgun Wrestling Radio's Zach Takis and the Wizard CZ from the card, Subject to Change.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wrestling with Fitness. I am your host, the Wizard CZ. Joining me on this adventure, Zach Takis of Shotgun Wrestling Radio. Zach, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's another beautiful day, and yeah, we're here cooking. We got our first guest on the show, so that's also pretty exciting. Before we get going, and before we kind of fully introduce you and I talked about this before, and the reason I wanted to include Storm on this is because Storm is always great at posting motivational quotes, and I've had a couple quotes this week just from different podcasts that I've listened to that have really stuck with me this week, and they've just really been in the back of my head. One of them is, every day above ground is a good day. The other one is, and Chris, you and I talked about this earlier, be your biggest fan, from our good friend DDP. Those have been two quotes for me this week that have really stuck with me. And, our guest tonight, CEW Hall of Famer, former CEW champion, Storm Thomas. Storm, again, you're always the king of great motivational posts, and that's why I wanted to include you in that and see what's your motivational quote here for today.
Well, first and foremost, is this a family-friendly event? Are we a little bit open and free with our words? You direct me a little bit, because I'm gonna be I'll try to keep it 100% with you, but I also want to keep the audience in mind as well.
We never really talked about that, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
No better time than the present. Not to put you on the spot, I just want to respect your platform, because again, as a guest, I just appreciate being invited in, but I also want to respect your platform and where you're trying to go with this.
Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't have to be totally PG, I guess.
We'll keep it PG-13, because I got kids.
There you go.
That's what I was going to say.
Today's quote was an oldie but a goodie. Those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter.
Yeah, that is.
It kind of goes along with what you were saying about being your own biggest fan. Like, myself personally, I used to be an asshole. There's really no other way to put that. When I was in high school, and even like my first year or so in college, I would say that as a defense mechanism, I used to use my size to try to be a tough guy or to be a bully. And I didn't treat people well. I didn't treat myself well. And through a lot of growth, I've realized, another quote that you mentioned, that every day above ground is a great day, because what's the alternative?
Absolutely.
There's so much ugly in this world. Every time you turn on the television, every time you scroll through social media, somebody's got something to complain about. Somebody's got something to voice their opinion about, and it's usually never a positive one. So I'm trying to completely spin my platform, not necessarily away from wrestling, but again, that being such a big part of my life for 14 years, I want to do something bigger. And I don't necessarily think that I'll ever change the world. But if I can change the outlook of one person, if I can touch one individual and help them to change their life for the better, then I feel like my life has purpose.
And that kind of leads me. Sorry to cut you off there, Chris. That kind of leads me to, like, when I put my accountability posts on our Facebook page when I'm doing my gym workouts, I always like to put a motivational quote with it, and that was something I had started doing on my personal page. I'm like, not only does it help, I feel like it could help somebody else, but I feel like it helps me too. Like, and that was a great thing, Chris, that you and I did last week, was we did the My Why videos.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked at how much that kind of, I guess, took off, because I felt like pretty vulnerable for both of us to do, was to post on My Why. And it was like, I got done doing it. I'm like, it was like, okay. And I felt good enough to do it, but I didn't respect the, kind of responses we got from those. But again, that all goes back to every day above ground is a great day, and kind of posting our whys of why we're doing this, why we're trying to get a healthier lifestyle going, was the perfect way to go about it.
For sure. I completely agree. And I forgot what I was going to say, so I don't know. No, I know what I was going to say. So talking about, if you can help one person, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this with Zach is, I struggle big time. And if my struggles can help someone else overcome theirs, they can help me overcome mine at the same time. It's kind of with everybody.
Well, one hand washes the other, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved both of you guys' My Why videos, and I thought that this is such a great platform. I wish I would have thought of it. But again, I think coming from somebody who's already in shape, nobody really wants to hear from me. Nobody wants me to do a Wrestling with Fitness podcast. So I think you two coming up with something like this to where we can all keep track and watch your journey, I think this is going to be so much fun, not only for you guys, but for the audience as well.
Yeah. If you would have told me even a year ago, I started kind of going back to the gym there last summer, and I fell off in the fall. And if you would have told me then, by March, you're going to be working out 6 days a week, I probably would have slapped you in the face and said, hey, you're wrong. But I've been pretty consistent the last month or so here, doing at least 6 days a week. And it's just like I told you the other day, Storm, like mentally, it helps me out so much.
Exercising, eating the right foods. And when I say the right foods, I mean whole foods. Going to the gas station, there's a reason they call it a convenience store, right? And convenience stores come with convenience prices. You'd be amazed at how much more you spend when you go out and how much worse you really feel. Because all the sodium, all the chemicals that they have to put into the food to process it, to keep it fresh, let's say, for as long as they can, it can't be great for you in the long run.
And
when you've been doing, sorry, Chris, go ahead, man.
I can really attest to that because that's when I'm out on the go, I will stop at fast food places. I'll stop at gas stations. I'm addicted to probably more the sugar and the carbs than anything else, but I'll fully admit I have an addiction to fast food and bad food, and I'm trying to break that.
And it's mental. More than anything, it's a mental game. And let me turn your tables for you. You guys both put out a My Why video, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about why not? We all three know why we want to live healthier lifestyles. Why not choose a healthier lifestyle? Is it out of convenience? Is it just because it's hard? Why not choose the healthier lifestyle? Because you've seen, Zach specifically, I know we talked about this, but you've seen that even when you don't want to go, you get in there, you get through the first couple things, and then you're like, I'm actually okay with this. And then by the end of the night, when you look yourself in the mirror and you know that you've accomplished that, even though you didn't want to do it, how much better do you feel? Just in here.
Yep. One thing that I've really noticed with me lately too is I've been trying much, much harder about not like late night binging, not eating after a certain time at night, because that was always one of my biggest flaws. Like, I'm gonna go lay down on the couch at 9 o'clock and maybe take a bag of chips with me and munch on some chips after 9 o'clock. And I've noticed I've really cut back on doing that, which is, they always say eating after 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night is usually pretty bad for you anyway. So that's one thing I've noticed in myself I've really cut back on. And even my wife and I were talking the other day. She's like, I don't feel like you're overeating as much. Like, even when we went out to eat the other night, I didn't even finish my entire, burger that I ordered. which is rare for me. And I was like, all right. And I didn't feel like I had to. I was like, I was comfortable, like I just didn't feel, I just feel like it's one thing I'm really learning is moderation.
Yes. And another thing with the going out to eat, I think there's also a mental block per se. When you look at that price tag and you're ordering a burger and fries and a coleslaw and a soda or whatever all comes with that, you're pushing about $20 per person every time you go out to eat. And it's like, you're not going to take that $20 out of your pocket and just throw it away. You're looking at all this food and you're thinking, well, this cost me $20. I got to consume all of this because I paid good money for it. And that's one of the things that helped me stop going out to eat as much when I was really starting to hone in on my journey. And I don't know if you guys have been following. I don't like to assume that people do, but I've been doing the carnivore diet since January 1st. And that really has stopped me from going out to eat, because one of the things that when you go to every restaurant, I can order a steak or I can order chicken or a seafood option, but the sides are always going to be a vegetable and a carbohydrate. And sure, you could sub this or that, but you're never going to be able to sub for extra meat. They always want to charge you for that. So I just look at it like, it's not doing me any good that I'm going to order this $25 plate. I'm only going to eat the meat and then I'm going to send back $8 worth of food. I could just make this at home.
What was it for you that made you kind of want to go down the carnivore diet way? I've followed your journey on it. I know Eric Bischoff is a very big proponent of it here too. And it's been interesting to watch you guys do the carnivore diet. Why did you decide to go down this path?
So I've been on my fitness journey per se since about 2006. When I was living in Iowa, I was going to William Penn University. I was pushing about 310, 315 pounds, playing offensive line. And, I was still mobile, but I had my very first body fat test with the athletic trainers at William Penn University. And they told me that I was at like 38% body fat. And my mind just exploded. I was like, you're telling me that 38% of my whole body is just fat cells. And I didn't like that at all. So I had to make a change. And I've tried, I've failed, I've succeeded, I've failed, I've tried again. It's been an up and a down battle. And especially since my surgery last April, I've got cleared in September, and I really wanted to really tighten up. But of course, 14 years of wrestling, 6 years of football, pushing 20 years in the gym here, my body has been through the ringer. So it was more for me, the research that I had done. A lot of the people talk about joint pain alleviation. It talks about inflammation reduction, mental clarity, less brain fog, so on and so forth. And I was like, doesn't sound like it really, like, this is a diet. How does it affect all these other areas? So I sat on it for a little bit. I want to say I really started like seeing it and researching it around October, November. So for me, it was a perfect time to try to set myself up for a New Year's resolution. So I started to really dig deep and do some research and put together a plan. And I can't speak highly of it enough. Literally within the first week and a half, my shoulder pain was completely gone. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I had an MRI done on my shoulder before my neck injury, and I was told that I have no cartilage left in my left shoulder and that I will eventually have to have a shoulder replacement. Again, it's from all the years of wrestling. It's the arm drags. It's the everything's done on the left side, the arm ringers, the sell this, it's constant on the left side. And it was just chronic daily pain. Like I would lift my arm over my head, and if I spun it in a circle, you would just hear it click, click, click. And within about a week and a half, the pain went away. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way this just happened. And then, so I'm a school teacher as well. I teach elementary physical education to kindergarten through 5th grade. My whole routine last school year is I would get off work at about 3:15, 3:30 every day. And I would come home and I would take a nap until about 4:30 when my kids came home from school. Even the entire fall semester, that was my routine. We went back to school January 6th. And when I came home from work January 6th, I was finding things to do because I was not tired. I haven't had the urge to need a nap. And I feel like I am at my sharpest. I'm about to turn 40 this summer. But like the brain fog, the mental clarity, like that's real. And it has so much to do with all the sugars, how much your body crashes when it's not receiving what it's thinking it's used to. And if you look all the way back to, ancestral cavemen, they were hunters before they were gatherers. We relied off of just strictly meat and fats and animal product. I apologize now to all of my vegan friends that don't believe in this way of living. Please don't judge me as I don't judge you. But this is just something that has worked so well for me and been such a benefit to my life, not only in the fact that, I've leaned out even more than I thought I would or could, because again, even at, the last show that I performed at CEW, I was probably 225 pounds and I was, still in ring shape and looked fine. But now I'm, anywhere between 200 and 205 and very lean. There are some certain things that I wish would grow. But after the surgery with all the nerve issues I've had, my left arm is a little smaller than my right. My left pec is a little smaller, my lat. But again, I can build all that back. But not having the joint pain, not having that brain fog, walking into a room. And I can't remember the last time I walked into a room and thought to myself, why did I walk in here? But we've all done it. Mm-hmm. But I can't remember the last time I did that, because I just feel so much sharper and so much on top of my game that as I'm approaching turning 40 this summer, like I'm ready. I'm like, let's go, because I feel almost invincible right now.
Do you think, and perhaps still a little early, do you think you'll ever get back in the ring?
Never.
Okay.
So I know that's not what this podcast is about, but
right.
I
had that.
You and everybody else. I still get emails all the time. I just got off the phone with Austin Bayless a few days ago. He was asking me if there was any chance in the world. And truth be told, I'll put it all out there. I am medically cleared to do whatever I want with my life. If I want to go wrestle right now, I can go wrestle right now. I probably need to go hit the ring for a little bit and, knock some rust off. But for what? You said it when you introed me, and it's the highest form of respect I can think of, being a former Central Empire Wrestling heavyweight champion, being a Hall of Famer.
Your silhouette is the logo. Like that silhouette of that is you.
Me.
That is
you
holding the title.
The title's right back there.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I believe everything happens for a reason. I was mentally checked out in 22. I went on that retirement tour in 23. I took a whole year off. And then when I decided to come back, my body quit. My cervical spine, I had to have 2 discs completely pulled out and replaced. And I think that was the universe telling me, hey, you need to just chill. I don't know why. I don't know, like, if I'm supposed to be finding a different direction, or if, maybe there was a final destination moment waiting for me that the universe wanted to prevent. But I just feel like pushing 40 is not a good time to restart. It's not like I was able to walk away from the WWE like Daniel Bryan and Edge and, TJ Wilson. All of these guys had similar or worse neck injuries than I did. And 2 out of 3 of them were able to recover and get back in the ring. And God bless them. And I wish them well in their career. But, I'm a couple $100 a show indie guy. What am I going to really gain in the long term by going out there and risking my body? And more importantly, time. 14 years of traveling and being on the road and seeing the country. I loved every minute of it. Don't get me wrong. It was a great excuse to come back to Iowa 2 to 3 times a year, but also, to travel to the East Coast and up into, Virginia, West Virginia, to go to the West Coast and go out to Las Vegas. Being able to wrestle in so many places was a blessing. But at the end of it all, I got kids that are going into high school now, and it's time for me to go sit in the stands and support them the way that they sat in the stands and supported me for their entire life.
I'm going to push on you a little bit. You said something, and this brings another quote that I heard this week. You said, I'm just a $100 indie guy. You're never just something. You're still a professional wrestler that helped, entertain us. It's never just like how ring crew people can say, oh, I'm just a ring crew member. No, you're a ring crew member. You're not just, that's another thing I heard this week that really stuck with me too. I was like, you know what? That's a great way to look at it. We're never just such and such.
Absolutely. But that's why I prefaced it with those 3 individuals who had the similar neck injuries. In comparison to those guys who are, 7-figure contract guys, I'm just a couple $100 indie guy. And I can't feed my family on an indie schedule. And to be honest, I've even been offered other entertainment gigs just recently, but because of the schedule, turned them down because I don't feel like traveling the country anymore and performing and missing out on my daughter's Taekwondo demonstrations or my other daughter's band or theater productions. So it's just one of those things where it took me a while to realize it because, man, the last match I wrestled, and I know we're way off topic, and I'm sorry, but you got me going.
Fine. It's called Wrestling with Fitness, so it's good.
The last match I wrestled was for the NWA, and that was one big box that I wanted to check off because other than Ring of Honor, I've wrestled for every major promotion. I've been on TV for every other promotion in one capacity, one form, one fashion or another. Never wrestled for Billy Corgan's NWA. And when I got to do that, it was a great opportunity. I got invited to come back and, conversations were going to be had when I was going to go back the week after CEW in January. But I got hurt. And it took me a while to really come to terms with the fact that, my time is up. And the best thing that I can do is what I'm good at. Push people in a positive direction. Be that source of light in a dark world. So that's kind of where I'm going to continue to focus and lean into is pushing people to find their positivity, pushing people to lead a healthier lifestyle. And whether it's fitness, whether it's mental health, emotional health, whatever people are looking to achieve, I'm here to see you create your best self.
And that's something that I struggle with quite a bit. I'm going to put myself out there. I don't keep it a secret, but I don't go broadcasting it. I'm bipolar.
Okay.
So a lot of times I will be all up and gung ho and let's do this. But like the last, well, what would you say, Zach, about a week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yeah, just based on our conversations, yeah.
I've just been in this funk, this downward spiral that I can't pull myself out of. I'm trying, but I'm tired. I have little motivation to do anything that I don't have to do, absolutely have to do. And it sucks because I don't want to be there. But at the same time, with my mental state, and I'm medicated, it helps quite a bit. But there are times where I get into this rut that I can't pull myself out of. And I hate it. I'm trying, but I don't know. Like I look at the sidewalk outside when the days are nice and I'm like, yeah, I probably should go for a walk, but I really just am not motivated to do it. I look at my weights and I said, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll hit those for a couple minutes and then I'll get a little bit in and be like, nope, I can't do this today. I'm out. I don't know how to get past it.
Everybody's different. And I'm not going to sit here and try to diagnose you or motivate you to be anything other than yourself right now. The biggest struggle I ever had is what I would call a food addiction. And it was a vicious cycle that I was stuck in. I used to wear 3X, 4X t-shirts, and I hated the way I looked, but I couldn't stop eating. I would get angry. Like I've been depressed. I've been angry. Most of my life, I've been angry. And I still, to this day, I can't ever pinpoint why. It's just, there's something inside here that's consistently angry. But I've found, especially through the food, like I would eat and then I would be mad at myself for eating. But the only thing that would calm down the anger was to eat. And it became this vicious cycle. And the only thing that's going to change it is time and dedication to you and yourself. And I had to stop relying on food to satisfy my anger urges. Everybody knows that I have a great respect for the Incredible Hulk. It took a lot for him to harness that anger to where he could finally be Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and they can coexist. And I would say with the battle that you're currently in, you just need to take it one step at a time. If you look out that window and it's a nice day and you see the sidewalk, maybe just put your shoes on and go check the mail. Whether or not you've already grabbed it for the day. Walk back out there and see if maybe you missed something. Walk back out there and see if maybe somebody left you anything else. And then maybe just look around the yard real quick. Does any sticks need picked up? Is there any debris, trash, anything like that? Oh, I'm moving. The sun feels good. That vitamin D on your skin. What about the neighbor's yard? Because there's nothing better than doing something nice for somebody else and expecting nothing in return. So, hey, maybe you've picked up all the debris and the sticks in your yard, but your neighbor's yard could use a little touch up. So you just do that. The next thing you know, you've been outside 20 minutes. You feel great. Maybe you haven't walked a half a mile or whatever your daily goal is, but something is always better than nothing.
Yep.
And if you just start there, maybe then that becomes, hey, I've checked the mail. The yard looks great. I'm going to walk down to the stop sign and then I'm going to come right back. You do that 3-4 times a week. And then all of a sudden you're starting to look in the mirror and be like, look what I've accomplished. Maybe you don't see it when you see you, but you see it in here. And if you can see it in here and you can feel it in here, you're going to start to beat the version of you that I don't want to. It's easier to not. And I think maybe there's something wrong with me sometimes. That's what I think. Because, even my parents, I've asked both my parents this separately. I'm like, if I ever were to pass early, like before you, what would be the one thing that you would remember about me? And moms, they always give the sentimental response. My dad, he keeps it as real as can be. He looked me dead in my eyes and he goes, "You're the type of guy that'll walk around the block just to go across the street. But if anything ever happened to you, I'll remember that you did it your way." And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, you know what? You're right. I've never respected the easy path. Like, it could be laced in gold, and I'll guarantee there's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. All I got to do is follow that. I've never respected the easy route. I've always felt like I have to earn it the hard way, and I got to dig through the trenches and through the mud to be able to say when I've reached it that I earned it and that nothing in this world has ever been given to me. And that monster lives inside all of us. It's just being able to tap into that to say, I'm better than the easy road.
And I see a comment here from Hope about how working out helped her mental health, and I kind of mentioned that earlier with me. That's one reason. That's a big reason I feel like I have to. Like I said yesterday, I was driving to the gym, driving home from work, driving to the gym, and I was that close to driving past it. But I'm like, I'm gonna hate myself if I do. And I said, nope, we're going. And I went in and felt great afterwards. And I'm like, okay, and that's why I pushed myself to do it. And even to Jenny's comment about you're eventually starting to crave it, I'm like, I kind of am starting to feel that where you have that itch to want to move and you want to get moving. And even tonight when I was doing my 30-minute treadmill walk, is when I don't go to the gym, the other days I'm doing at least a 30-minute walk, whether it's on the treadmill or outside, just to have something. On Saturdays are usually my rest days where I don't do shit. So, but like tonight I started doing walk with incline, like a high incline. I put it on like a 10 incline on my treadmill, and I did it for like 5 minutes. And I started doing that, I think, last week. And I even noticed tonight, I was like, I don't feel like and I'm only, like I said, I'm only doing it for 5 minutes at like 3.5 speed. And even tonight doing it, I'm like, I don't feel like I was breathing as heavy doing it. Like my body was just getting used to that, little bit of incline. I was like, all right, that was kind of cool. I didn't feel like it was, as hard as it had been, even though, like I said, I'm just doing it for 5 minutes.
And that's the thing is, we all have the end goal in mind, right? Whatever yours is, maybe yours is lose 50 pounds. Whatever your end goal is, that's great. But you have to celebrate these small victories while you're in the process of reaching the long goal as well. When I was cleared to start working out again, like I went through it because before surgery, before my injury occurred, I was chest pressing these 90-pound dumbbells for 4 sets of 10. And I was strong, I was fit, I felt great. I was even like talking to my wife. I was like, man, I think I might need to buy some 100-pound dumbbells. Like, I'm feeling great right now. And then in the blink of an eye, everything changed. And I could no longer lift a 30-pound dumbbell. And just the other day, I worked up to my heavy set and I did a 65-pound dumbbell press for 8 reps. Couldn't get to 10, but I took 65 for 8. And when I was very first cleared, 30 was my limit. So think about that. Since September, I've been able to push myself and double where I was. Now, we all know I'm still not where I was.
Right.
But being able to celebrate that goal and just, even if it's just getting on the phone and calling my little brother and be like, bro, look what I did. Like I'm doing this. And, find your way to celebrate your small victories, because you're earning it each step of the way, even if it's as simple as you got outside, you walked down the road, you spent 10 minutes investing into you.
When I even started doing, taking the monthly progress photos, which is something I didn't want to do in the beginning when I started really doing this in January. And I'm kind of pissed at myself. I didn't do one for January, but it is what it is. But I do have some pictures of me from then and that I can kind of use to compare. But I started doing, the shirtless photos. I'm not comfortable posting yet. Eventually I will. But seeing the progress I made from February till March, and Storm, I did send them to you because I was comfortable sending them to a few people. I was like, shit, I could actually see some progress. Like, that was pretty cool for me. And I hadn't seen my parents for, I think it was 2 months. They were in New Zealand and Australia. And they came home this past week, and we went out to dinner with them Friday night. And even they were like, wow, you look really good. And I was like, well, I've been busting my ass the entire time you guys have been gone. So that was pretty neat to see as well.
Yeah. And, this is a lifestyle. It's whatever happened in the world and in the universe where we all started to make excuses for the easier route. We've got to get back to the roots of hard work and earning that feeling of success. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have to clock in every day for work by 7:45. I get up at 5:45 because it's my day. Even though I'm going to work for somebody else, I get up, I do my morning routine, I get in a cold bath, I wake myself up, I stretch out, I take the time to cook a good breakfast, prepare all my snacks for the day, my drinks for the day, get my backpack ready to go, get dressed, put a smile on my face, and before I ever get to work, I'm posting my morning motivation quotes and videos on TikTok because I need to get the rest of the world ready. In my mind, at least.
And so, as a viewer and as a friend and as a follower, I appreciate it. I'll let you know. Like, I love when I'm sitting there and I might pop on at work just a few minutes first thing in the morning. You're posting one of the first thing I see. And even with Chris here, this is one of the reasons we started this is we all kind of need an accountability buddy. And that's why even with my post, I say Tuesday accountability post, Thursday accountability. We need to hold ourselves accountable. And that's what's nice about doing this and kind of us going on our journey, because you do. It's great to be your biggest fan, and you should always be your biggest fan, but you should also help those around you and try to be their biggest fan as well.
Absolutely. And again, there's something inside all of us individually. When you do something nice for somebody and expect nothing in return, but just hearing that I affect you, that means the world to me. And that's reason for me to keep going. It's funny because recently I had I'll call him an associate, right? Because I don't really have a lot of friends. I keep to myself very, very much. But I had somebody try to call me out on my social media posting. They're like, you post way too much. And I was like, okay, I appreciate your opinion, but like, all right. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to be my friend on Facebook. Yeah, we've been friends in real life before. And, we used to hang out socially. But I understand that my life and your life is like a book. Maybe the chapter where we were cool is over. Because for every one, and I hate to use the term, but I'm going to use it anyway. For every one hater, there's still people who love and comment. Sure, maybe my posts only get 10, 12, 15 likes. Maybe my videos only get 10, 12, 15, 100 views. But how important is it to those people? And those who matter don't mind if I'm posting 6 times a day. And those who mind, they don't matter. So put your accountability posts up, because again, it's for you. Mm-hmm. When you look back at your Facebook memories next year,
Yep.
Imagine what's going to go through your mind when you look at that and you're like, two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to be a completely different person, and you're going to be like, that's where I was? Oh my gosh. Or we all hope not. I hope neither one of you fall off the wagon. But if you do, that memory is going to pop up and you're going to be like, why did I give up on myself? And hopefully it reignites you to just keep moving forward. Because the worst thing that any of us can do is stay stagnant.
Yeah. And, you know, like one of the biggest things for me too, like, so during COVID, we got a treadmill at home and it was there for a while, just kind of sat. And eventually, like last summer, I was like, yeah, we have it at home, but I feel like, and it is a convenience, but at the same time, like, I feel like if I'm going to pay for something like a monthly gym membership, like I do, I'm going to be more motivated to go to that, because otherwise I'm throwing money away. Whereas if I'm paying for it, it's in the back of my head, hey, you're paying for this shit, you better get some use out of it. You know, so that's another kind of motivating factor. Like, hey, you're paying for this monthly, get your ass to the gym. That's kind of it for me too.
Yeah.
See me, I'm pushing like 15 grand in investment in this gym. So every time I think, I don't have time, it's right out the door.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't have time? You spent all that money. That money could have went where? So, I mean, but whatever works for you, because again, what works for you might not work for me, and what works for me might not work for you. And maybe getting out of the house is what you need to get moving.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's great too that I decided to, on my non-gym days, to start walking more and getting used out of the treadmill, at least until it gets nicer out, and then I'll start taking the dog on walks. But yeah, it's, you know, that's what I'm really looking forward to, is when we start getting those 60, 70 degree days and I can take the pup for a half hour walk. And yeah, those are the days I'm really looking forward to coming up here.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great, because hopefully we're all going to see more posts about it.
Yep.
We're going to be able to follow your journey. And of course, both of you, either one of you, selected individually or collectively, if you guys need something, reach out to me. Like, I'm happy to sit here and, you know, look at your photos and tell you, hey man, I think you're doing a great job. There's quite a few people who I work with one-on-one individually as clients. There are other people who will just message me long paragraphs and tell me that I've inspired them, or that here's what they're doing. One of the talents at Central Empire Wrestling has been blowing up my inbox the last month, telling me about their fitness journey. And I'm this person's biggest fan right now when it comes to their fitness journey. And I will gas that person up every time they message me, because again, there's enough ugly in the world. Let me be that one ray of sunshine that comes into your life and helps you get a little bit more motivated. Because through all of my journeys, I've realized humility is going to be my biggest friend. And if your goal is to be like me, and I just feel like I'm a regular guy, you know, I feel like I'm easily overlooked. But if that one person is inspired by Storm Thomas, like, of course I'm going to hype you up. You want to be like me? I'm nobody. I'm not John Cena. I'm not The Rock. I'm nobody. Yes, we're all somebody, but in the grand scheme, I'm just a guy. But if I've made an impact on you, for you to want to send me your results and let me know that I'm pushing you to be great, but I'm gonna be your biggest fan every time.
That's awesome.
That's the beauty of, you know, just pro wrestling in general. You know, like a lot of people say we're like the island of misfit toys, so to speak. And I feel like that's what just is so great about it, because we all go to wrestling shows because we enjoy professional wrestling. We all come from different backgrounds, but what's the one thing we have in common is professional wrestling. And that's kind of what all brings us, you know, together, and how we do root for each other. It's like, you know, we had somebody from the wrestling community pass away in the Midwest here this past week, and it was really moving just to see the wrestling community kind of come together for that. And that's what the wrestling community can do for people.
Absolutely.
It's such a huge family environment. Maybe not like your close family, but that's my experience. Is I go to these shows and I meet people and they become part of the family to me. Some of them closer than others, obviously, but yeah, I mean, that's what I love is meeting new people and making new connections because we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's why too, like Chris, whenever we get done with the show and we're making our post about how much fun we had at the show, I always make sure to say great time with my wrestling family, because it's a great every time it feels like a big family reunion, and that's the best part.
Without a doubt.
So, Storm, one thing I want to ask you too, and I feel like this is something I need to do a lot more research on. You were talking earlier about stretching. What are some things that you do as far as like your daily stretches or post-workout stretches? Because I feel like that's something I need to start incorporating more for me, is just, stretching myself.
So, like I said, every morning I get up and I get in a ice bath. For me, it just helps to wake me up. That the norepinephrine levels raised by like 300%, and like immediately you're just like, and then by calming your body down for those 3.5 minutes while you're in there, you can accomplish anything. Like if you put yourself in a 35-degree cold bath, but by the end of that 3 minutes, you have calmed yourself down, your breathing's regulated, and you're just scrolling by that point, you can literally deal with any amount of stress. I get out of there and I'll come in here for a little bit and I'll just, I'm on my feet all day with the kids doing PE stuff. So I just make sure that my legs are nice and stretched out. I'll, do some extensions. I'll try to reach down, touch the floor with my palms, just making sure that it's like any machine. Your body is a machine. You don't want anything to lock up. And, especially that low back area. We all carry our stress in our either usually your traps and shoulders. A lot of people walk around like this because they don't know how to just release, or it's always the low back. So just sitting on the floor, stretching, trying to touch your toes, or doing it from a standing position, reaching and trying to palm the ground, making sure that everything is nice and loose before you end up, jump scare, get caught off guard and throw your back out. It's just a part of my routine so I can be the best version of myself physically, mentally, and emotionally all day long.
Yeah, like I said, that's something I really need to start incorporating. For the most part, I feel great every once in a while, but I feel like my knees will be a little bit sore and I'll have to stretch those out. But that's definitely one thing I'd want to incorporate more into my routine, is either stretching or even some type of yoga, even, is just to kind of, for me to get those stretches in.
Yeah,
that's something.
Start slow and build it up.
I watched and tried to participate best I could in a chair yoga video on Sunday. I have a chair coming that's a little sturdier than the kitchen chairs we have around here, because being over 400 pounds with these rickety wooden chairs, having them have me lift my feet off the ground, I just didn't feel comfortable, because that's sure. A recipe for disaster right there. But that's something that I'm hoping to incorporate a little more, because I think it would help. Particularly, like a couple years ago, I got what they call frozen shoulder. I don't know if either of you are familiar with that. It's mostly a diabetic thing from what I learned. But I can only lift my arm so high, and it's both arms are now at that state where I can't fully extend them up. And for a while I was going to physical therapy. That helped. And then I changed jobs. The new job I started didn't have great insurance, so I just couldn't go, and I stopped doing the stretches because, the goes back to my my bipolar cycling. It just got in one of those funks, and then while I got out of it mentally, I didn't get out of it physically, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm anxious and excited to see what the chair yoga does, with when the chair arrives, which will be here tomorrow. But what I'm really excited about, I have a membership to the Y, and the Y has a pool. We have like 9 different YMCA's here in my area, in the Quad Cities. So most of them have a pool, if not all of them. And I got a pair of swim trunks that actually fit me. I had ordered a pair or two a couple weeks ago, thinking, okay, it says they're big guy shorts. I ordered a 4X and a 3X because most of my pants are 3X.
Sure.
Neither one of them. I tried the 4X on first, and I couldn't even get it up my leg. But I got a pair of swim trunks that fit, and I'm excited to break those in and go do just walking in the pool with some resistance, if not outright swim.
That's awesome.
Yeah, water walking, is a great exercise. I was telling you the one day, my mom does that in the summertime with her friends. They call it women of the water. That's what my mom calls it. We're at least a couple times a week. She'll meet up with her friends. They're all retired. She'll meet up with her friends, and they'll go to one of the city pools, and they'll water walk for 45 minutes to an hour.
I'm excited to start doing that. I used to love to swim, and I fell out just because I didn't have access to a pool, so I'm excited for that. And that really helped me today because I tried those on today and made sure they fit.
Mm-hmm.
I've had them for a couple days and just, like I said, lack of motivation to really do anything. I tried them on today, and that perked my mood up that they fit and I feel good. I don't know if I'm fully out of the funk that I've been in, but it helped quite a bit.
As long as you're one step away from it. And then try to stay there. And then the next nice thing that happens, try to stay there. And it's just one step at a time.
Like I said, Chris, during the first episode, the hardest part.
Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to be right back.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll try to kill some
Tap
time
dance
here, but we got some pretty great comments coming in. Thank you to Jenny. Thank you to Hope. Thank you to Freddie for all kind of chiming in here. Gary. I mean, it's a lot of fun seeing all you guys in here chatting with us. And again, for this only being the second episode and seeing so many already kind of trickling through, it's pretty fun. Again, these episodes will happen the last Wednesday of every month. So it's going to be a once a month show. And yeah.
With few exceptions. I know I don't want to spill the beans quite yet, but we've got a show that will be moving to a Thursday to accommodate a guest coming up in the next couple of months. But we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, last Wednesday of every month, we'll be here talking. And if we have someone talking with us, helping motivate us, that'll be great. I love it.
And I know we had gotten asked earlier in the day about audio versions. So if you guys ever missed any of this, obviously, I know we are on YouTube as well. But if you want audio versions, if you're still very much an audio podcaster, like I am, my listener myself, we are going to be throwing up the audio of these shows on the Shotgun Wrestling Radio podcast feed. So if you're not on there yet, that's where the audio will be. So, but all right, now our man's back. So Chris,
my apologies.
No worries, man. We're good. We killed the time. We're good. But so what I was gonna say, and Chris, I mentioned this in the very first episode. The hardest part of working out is walking through the door. You walk through that door. That's the hard part, man.
Yeah,
that's what they say. They say the hardest part is showing up.
Yep.
And I mean, if you show up, you better be doing something, because what's the point otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And again, something is better than nothing. So even if you just show up, and again, I mean this, it's no different than just walking out to the mailbox, then walking down to the stop sign. Show up at the gym, at the YMCA. Get your trunks on. Walk one lap. If you're done, be done. Tomorrow, do it again. But you did something. The alternative would have been you just sat there and wallowed in our own self-pity. I've been there. There are still times I don't want to do this.
Right.
Like I'm sitting in my gym right now that I've built that some people would die to have access to, let alone have in their home. And there are days I don't want to be in here. But I come out here, I'll do a couple little things, warm up, and the right song will come on at the right moment. And then the next thing you know, I'm just getting after it. And whether it was the song or my mood shifted or it just felt right.
Yeah.
Something takes over and boom, there we go.
Yeah. You bring that part up. I love that when I'm like either in the middle or towards the end of my cardio session and that one song just will come on. It's like, oh, I needed this. And it's amazing what that can do for you.
No, I agree. And for me, when I walk, music is such a huge factor for me because I've talked to people that will listen to podcasts when they're walking or listen to audiobooks, and I don't see that. That doesn't get me excited to go out there and walk. The music helps motivate me to move.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm very similar. I tried doing the audiobooks. I tried doing the podcasts, and I have to want to focus on the podcast or on the book. As to the music, there are certain moments in the music where I could just forget the song is on.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's certain moments of the music where it's like, yes, this is what's fueling me to get going. But so, I'm definitely a music guy too.
We just got a question in here about the cold baths. They were wanting to know how you do the cold baths. Do you do it in a regular tub or do you have a special tank?
Great question. I actually found a cool video on TikTok where I converted a deep freezer into a cold bath. And every few weeks I drain it, clean the water out. But there's some really cool videos out there. I'm not a professional, but you watch these videos, it's pretty easy. You get some clear silicone and you seal off all the edges on the inside so the water doesn't, seep into the interior of the actual casing. Close off the escape hole. And then I have a small filtration like for an aquarium. And then you get a timer because, of course, if you're letting the freezer run 24 hours a day, it's going to get way too cold.
Right.
You got to find your sweet spot. I like mine to be anywhere between 34 and 40 degrees. I don't want it to be any warmer than 40. So, you got to make your adjustments and then just let it do its thing. I think mine runs for 3 or 4 hours overnight. So it cuts off around 3:30, 4 a.m. And then by the time I'm getting up at 5:45, jump right in.
We had a couple more great comments here about music and workouts. Somebody mentioned wrestling themes. I do have some wrestling themes on my playlist. I know for me, the Usos, Romans, those are two of my favorites. I love going on, and I agree with Hope. You got to have some heavy metal in there too. I was working out a few weeks back, and it's kind of towards the end, and Master of Puppets came on kind of right at that right time, and I was just like, okay, that's how we end a workout.
Oh yeah. There's whether it's hard rock or me being from Florida, I'm definitely like a dirty South hip hop rap lover. So it could be just some old Little John that comes on, and all of a sudden like the bass starts kicking in, and now I just want to lift heavier, or I want to go a little bit longer if I'm on my bike or whatever I'm doing. So and definitely have to have some wrestling theme songs. Right now, I think my favorite wrestling theme song is actually Jimmy Uso's.
Okay.
Yeah, Born a King. Something about that just it hits for me when that one comes on.
I'm trying to think what my go-to. I think it really depends on the mood that I'm in because I have several that I'll go to, and I'm blanking as to any one of them off the top of my head, but I've talked to Zach about this a few times. One thing that I will start my workout with, I'm not a big rap person, but "Lose Yourself" by Eminem just
Yep.
it kickstarts me. I don't know why, but that kickstarts me. Not the first part, but when the music starts
Yep.
drumming in there, that's like, okay, it's time to go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great song. It's classic at this point.
Yeah, I have a good amount of Eminem on my list too. I've always been a big M fan, so he'll always get you fired up. So, Storm, I don't want to take a whole lot more of your time. We've had a great show here tonight. For people that aren't following you yet, that may be watching this and want to follow you, where can people follow you and find you on all the social medias?
So the good thing is I made it very simple for everybody. You will be able to find me at StormThomas50 on all platforms. I've got Facebook, I've got X, I've got Instagram, I've got TikTok, I'm on Cameo, I have YouTube. There are so many different platforms that I have made myself available on. They are all at StormThomas50 for everyone's convenience. So you can find me on any of those platforms. Feel free to follow, send a request, like, share, whatever it is. Drop in and let me know you're here.
Absolutely. I'll ask you one last question, and then we'll kind of wrap up. Any closing words of advice to me, to Zach, to anyone that's watching or listening?
Yes. If you follow on TikTok, I do all of the daily motivation posts that I put out on every other platform, just the image. I try to make a 1 to 2 minute video for TikTok because images on TikTok just don't make sense. And one of the things that you'll consistently hear me remind people of is this is your life. You come in it alone. You will leave it alone. Do not listen to anybody but what's inside you. This is your life. This is your journey. You are creating the best version of yourself right now. Just by taking the time to listen to this, if anything that we have said touches you, hold on to that. And don't ever let anybody take it away, because a detractor's words will never equate to the feeling that you have inside when you've reached a goal. There is no greater feeling in the world than being proud of yourself. So listen to yourself.
Awesome. Fantastic. Storm, I'm just going to close by saying thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on, and definitely would love to have you back down the road.
Absolutely. We definitely need to schedule something a few months down the road to where we can all do a check-in and, see where we're at progress wise, and also just touch base for some more conversation, motivation, and, I'll update you guys on what I've got going on, and you guys can update all of us on everything that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love that.
And on a final note here, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in to the live. I want to thank you for listening if you're on audio platforms after the fact. We've had a lot of people leaving comments. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And feel free to share the page with others. If we're helping you, you're helping us. But yeah, thank you so much. Zach, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't, man. Again, thanks, Storm, for coming on, and hopefully maybe we'll try to set sometime in the summer, July or August. We'll try to do a check-in and see how everybody's going on. I know, my next physical with my doctor is July, so that's kind of the big goal date for me is July, to see how how my progress was from my last physical last year till this year. That's kind of my goal target date is July. So be interesting to see where we're all at that point.
For sure.
Absolutely. And thank you both for, thinking to have me on. I'm very honored to be able to be your guest tonight.
And not only that, the first guest we've had on. So thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you guys.
that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Wrestling with Fitness. Thank you again for tuning in. And just look for us at the end of next month. The last Wednesday in April, we'll be back here to talk fitness and maybe a little bit of wrestling while we're at it. Thanks again, and everybody have a good night.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.